Imagine if people considered ASMR a sin. Oh, well, I love the sinner, but I hate the sin. Feels wonderful, doesn't it? Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello, my tinglings. Today we're going to be talking about the problematic nature of the phrase, love the sinner, hate the sin. So this came up because I mentioned it, I think it was in my 15 Signs of a Destructive Cult, and where I was assessing Mormonism. Actually, if you guys are interested, I could redo that video because I'm actually aware of a different model where you can actually assess things in a more stepwise fashion. So, I kept talking in that video about how there's a continuum. So that one actually allows you to place things on a continuum, and it's called the bite model. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know down below, and maybe I'll do a little series on assessing Mormonism against the bite model, and we can get into some nitty-gritties on that, because I find that very fascinating. I follow somebody on that video as well, told me about Telltale Atheist, and, well, he's just Telltale now, but he started as Telltale Atheist, and he does a lot of assessments of lots of different religions or groups on the bite model. So he's the one who kind of made me aware of that. So anyway, he and Mr. Atheist are actually going through Mormonism right now. But I thought, I'm an ex-Mormon as well. I could share my opinion in a different way. But anyway, that's not the point of this. So someone was asking about what's actually problematic about that phrase, and I wanted to reply to that, but it's hard to address everything that's problematic with that phrase in just a YouTube comment. So I thought, well, maybe I should do a video on that, and thus here we are today. So basically, if you look at, there's 4 key words in this phrase. You have love, sinner, hate, sin. So I'm going to go through each of these words and discuss them. So we start out with love, and particularly from a Christian context, loving people is good, you're supposed to love others, that sort of thing. I'm actually a little, now that I'm not Christian, I still obviously really like love. I, love my love and my family and friends, so there's lots of love to go around, but there's also a little bit less naivety, I guess, in understanding that there are people that I do not and do not have to love, such as my ex, or, people who have abused people I love. I don't have to love them. Anyway, but pretty innocuous anyway, beginning. Love, I think we can all, it is a nice concept anyway. But then we get love the sinner. So first problem is there. So part of the problem with the concept of love the sinner, hate the sin is it creates a very us versus them mentality. So if you are labeling someone else as a sinner, you generally aren't considering yourself in that. So particularly with this phrase, love the sinner, hate the sin, the idea is, okay, yeah, I mean, we're in this group of non-sinners, but there's implications underpinning this phrase which suggest that the sinner is over there. If you think of the phrase, even to me, I think it would be an even better, a little bit better. There's still problems, but even if you just change that word, it would make it better. And we'll test this out as we go along. So, love the person, hate the sin. Do you see how that feels different? Love the sinner, hate the sin. Imagine I'm talking to you, something you like to do. Let's say that ASMR was considered a sin. And I'm saying, well, I'm gonna love the sinner, but I hate the sin. So I hate ASMR, but I don't hate you for loving ASMR. But if I say hate the sinner, love the sin, does that make you feel differently to hate the person? Love the person, hate the sin. To me, it has a little bit different feeling. I feel like you're at least recognizing my humanity and personhood just with that. Whereas the sinner implies an ability to judge, first of all, and what is a sin, and whether something that somebody is doing is a sin, and also the gravity of that. So, first, the word sinner. The other thing, and this isn't that relevant to me because I'm not Christian, but from a Christian context, I'm pretty sure that God says judgment's supposed to be reserved by Him. So even if there are sins, it should be Him judging, not you. You don't know what's going on between God and all that. So, if there's something going on that doesn't hurt you or another person at all in the world, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to be judging. Obviously, it's important for us to judge each other as other human beings, to, when we are hurt, like to basically figure out where is that line where we are hurting other people. And, that's a very gray area in a lot of places. But we won't get into that. I could probably talk forever in this video, but we'll try and stay on track. So next, we're going to move on to our next word. So we have love the sinner, hate the sin. So the word hate. And if it's a very strong word. Nobody wants to be hated. Nobody wants something that they do to be hated. If somebody's abusing children, if you want to say you hate the sin, hey, I'm right there with you. I hate that. I think it's a horrendous thing to do. I don't think it's acceptable at all. And I think hate is an appropriate word. But let's think in context. Well, so from my, Mormon context, you might hate somebody for having a drink. Well, is that really something worthy of hating? The thing is, you can talk about how you're hating this aspect or this action that someone's taking, but our actions are inextricably linked to our soul. So someone could be like, let's just not even use a religious context. Oh yeah, I mean, I love Jenny, but I hate that she goes to the footy. Well, do you really love me if you don't? If you hate something that I'm doing? There's a big difference to me between hating and being neutral or just mildly not liking something. This happens a lot in a lot of relationships, you know. I mean, my love does a lot of things that annoy me. He is proclaimed by me the most annoying man in the world. And, you know, sometimes it's funny and humorous, and sometimes it's just straight up annoying. And I dislike some of those things, but I wouldn't say I hate them, because on some level I don't like them, but on some level, well, that's what makes him my love, and so of course I love him, you know? So, if I was like, yeah, I hate this about you, I think that would be really hard to have a good relationship, to actually be, like, how can you actually love a person when you hate something about them? And just, if somebody tells me that they hate something I do, particularly, if they hate something I wear, it's a little different, but if you're hating an action is very linked to who I am. You know, my actions are chosen by me, so it's my choices. That's strongly linked to my identity. So hating my actions, to me, it's asynchronous with being able to love me. It's that I don't think it actually even works. And a really good example of this to me is one of the places that you hear this phrase used a lot, which is in terms of gay marriage or, you know, gay relationships. A lot of people say, well, you know, I love the sinner, hate the sin. So I love Becky and Julie, and that they are in a loving relationship. Well, I don't though, because I actually hate that they're in a relationship. Do you see how it's even hard? How can you say you love these two people if you hate that they're making each other happy? That's hugely, hugely problematic. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Saying you hate something about someone, to me, is completely incongruous with loving them. So, I think about this, you know, the person who I'm thinking of right now is my mom, you know, and if she told me, oh, well, I hate that you do this, I would be very hurt if she said that, you know, even though I understand her background. If, you know, I tell her, oh yeah, I've had a drink of Bailey's chocolate Lux with some chocolate milk, and she's like, oh, I hate that you do that, but I love you. That doesn't feel like love to me. The other thing is, in the psychology of the human brain, positive experiences have very minimal impact, whereas negative experiences have very strong impact. This makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, because when we have a negative experience, that can impact our survival. Whereas a positive experience, it's more, okay, this may help us survive a little bit more, but it's not as strong. And I think it's like that it takes, I've heard different things, so this one is not as scientifically based, the actual number, but it would take 5 to 10 positive instances to overcome one negative instance. And it can be a lot more depending on the severity, but I think even just using that word hate, well, unless you've said, I love this, and 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 I love this, but I hate the sin, well, then you've maybe negated the strength of that word hate a little bit more, because you've shown an outpouring of love and demonstrated that through, all the things that you're saying you love. And then you can use the word hate. But for me, it works better to dislike. I don't even like not agree with. But I don't like dislike that much either. But I think it's about the right level if you want to convey that same message. So go with me here. So we've got love the person, dislike the sin. So again, we'll go back to our ASMR example. We'll say ASMR is a sin. So if I'm telling you I love the person, I dislike the sin of you watching ASMR. Well, to me, I'm kind of like, okay, you don't like that. I can accept that, It's a lot easier to not have this visceral and strong reaction of negativity. Now, that being said, lots of people, particularly in vulnerable positions, will still be strongly impacted by the word dislike. And so it's not like I'm not saying at all that this is ideal. I think the best thing is if you love someone, you love them for what they are. And then if you don't like a particular action they're taking that impacts you, then those are the things you're allowed to have an opinion on. But if you just dislike something that they do that has nothing to do with you, I just think you gotta suck it up, basically. Anyway, so dislike I think is a better word, but I'm not saying that's the perfect word. Person I think is good in the beginning. I'm a strong supporter of love the person, dislike the sin, and then we'll get to the last word in the phrase, which is sin. And part of the problem with the word sin is when you're talking about it, about someone else, you're projecting your morality onto them. And this can happen even if you think you share a similar religion and background, because what one person feels in themselves and how they relate to your religion or that sort of thing may not be the same as you. And so calling something a sin, if you hear them call it a sin, okay, that's fine. But if they haven't called it a sin, you're then telling them what that action should mean to them. That to me is a problem. So if someone tells me, oh, drinking is a sin, and I'm thinking, well, no, it's not, not for me. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that because it's just not that relevant to me. And so if you dislike a particular action, perhaps you could call it an action, but then it's also then getting more personalized. It's getting to you actually having a thought for yourself, which to me is one of the biggest things here, is some institution telling people that something's wrong and then them just parroting that, to me, is very highly problematic. So if you have your own thoughts about things and that is your conclusion, then you probably aren't going to call it a sin. You probably call it an action, or I don't know, an action, we'll say. So, love the person, dislike the action. And to me, that's something I can jump on board with. It's a purely secular phrase as well. So, can all agree with that? Yeah. I mean, I love people and dislike some of their actions. You know, if somebody's perpetually making plans with me and then, you know, changing them at the last minute, well, I still love the person, but I do dislike that particular action. And so that's more universal, and it's something concrete and specific. I think I can jump on board with that. So, if you want to talk about how you don't like something, that's the phrase I would use. But I think inherent in that phrase is it should be your own thoughts based on your own understanding of the world, not that somebody else has given to you. I think that's super important. We all need to go through our own thought processes and determine our own morality, not just to export that to someone else. We have to grapple with the hard decision, the hard questions of ourselves, and figure out what our personal answer is to them. I think that makes society better. So, if you must talk about something that you disagree with or don't like, love the person, dislike